Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. You'll get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And when I'm not asking Bruce, hey, how big was Batista's? Well, you know. One of the things I like to do is help people save money. And if you're watching this video right now and you're in a 30-year loan, man, you're overpaying your single biggest bill and you may not even realize it. I want you to do a little experiment for me. Take your calculator out, multiply your monthly house payment by 360 payments. That's how many payments there are on a 30-year loan. That big scary number, that's your total of payments. You're looking at that number? You know you can do better. Keep more of your own money right now and go to savewithconrad.com. Or maybe you've got credit card debt. Man, it's not a matter of if I can save you money with that. Your average interest rate on a credit card is more than 20%. And by the way, all the interest you pay on those credit cards, it's not tax deductible. Whereas the mortgage interest, well, that is tax deductible. So if you owe this debt, it's up to you how to pay it back. Doesn't it make sense to get the cheapest rate possible and the greatest tax deduction possible? Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. Even scores in the 500s can be approved, and it's no cost out of pocket. But maybe best of all, we're licensed in more than 40 states. We can help more families than ever before. But how much can we save you? Find out right now for free with a quick quote from savewithconrad.com.
Well, he won a gold medal with a broken freaking neck. He's a real athlete, so give him your respect. He's got intensity, integrity, intelligence too. Oh, it's true, it's damn true. So if he ever finds you and you're chanting you suck, then he'll douse you in dairy with his big milk truck. And with one angle slam, he'll lay you out on the floor. So listen up, it's time to go. It's the Kurt Angle Show.
Hey, this is Kurt Angle, and welcome to the Kurt Angle Show. On the show today is an amazing actor who's my nephew-in-law, and his name is none other than Jon Bernthal. But first, let me introduce to you my co-host, Paul Bromwell. How you doing today, Paul?
Kurt, I'm great. I'm excited to be here back with you again this week. And this is a first for me. I've never done this before. This is someone who's not involved in the wrestling business, as you said. But I'm excited to get started today, man.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Let's patch Jon in right now.
All right, here we go. He's going to jump in and join us now.
Hey, Jon, how you doing, man?
Big Kurt.
What's up, brother?
What's going on, man?
Hey, I want to introduce you to my co-host, Paul Bromwell.
Hey, Jon, how you doing?
Well, how you doing, man? It's an honor, dude.
It's good to meet you.
Right on, man. Right on.
How's Erin and the kids?
Man, you know, they're so good. You know, Kurt, I'm in that time now. They're on the other side of the country. So I'm brokenhearted and all by myself, but you know how it is, man. We got work to do.
Right. Some of you know this, some of the listeners know this, but most don't. But Jon is married to my niece, Erin, and they have three wonderful, beautiful little kids. And Jon, I wanted to tell you the first question I wanted to ask you, because I don't know this. I want to know the story of how you and Erin first met.
Oh man, I don't know. Are you gonna share this with your brother Mark? I don't know if Erin's dad.
I might have to.
you know, man. There's the. We did meet in a bar. You know, Erin. I was. First of all, I just want to say how glad I am to be here, man. And I ain't avoiding the question, but you know, I love you, and I think that I think a lot of times, you know, in this world, you know, I would imagine, you know, you get married and you hear this, you hear these sort of feelings about what you feel about your in-laws. And there's these sort of like old stereotypes. I can't stand my mother-in-law or my father-in-law. But, you know, I love my wife more than anyone in this world. And it's one thing that I know I did right. You know, I respect her and I love her. And, you know, me and her, that's it for me. And but I'm absolutely in love with the Angles and the Abendanzas, you know, like her family, all you guys, you know, just you've you know, we're all family now, and it's such a beautiful family to be a part of. And I believe in everybody. I believe in what everybody's about. And you know, because you know, you grew up in it, but it's that family out there in Pittsburgh, man. It's truly a blessing. But to answer your question, man, you know,
yes, let's get to it, Jon.
All right. You know, I had just gotten back from, you know, I got into a lot of trouble growing up, Kurt, as you know, and I'd just gotten by, I really wanted to act. And I'd moved to Russia for a couple of years to learn acting. I was playing some pro baseball over there and doing my thing. And it was the night I got back, my friends were throwing sort of a welcome home party for me. And, we were pretty raucous in the back of a bar. And I saw this buddy of mine, played college football at the time. And he was talking to these two blonde-haired girls. And I kind of went over there and did something pretty lewd to go mess with my buddy because I was a freaking idiot. And then I looked at one of them and I literally, I heard angels sing. I saw the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen in my life.
Love at first sight.
Love at first sight, man. And I immediately stopped the lewd, disgusting thing that I was doing. And I said, oh my gosh, how are you? And we started talking and we immediately kind of hit it off. And then, we, at the end of the night, that friend of mine, that football player, he went over to her to try to get her number. And she had come to me, and this was before cell phones. That's how long we've been together. He had a BlackBerry because he was like, he thought he was all cool. I was like, ready to write the number down on my hand like a jackass. And we were both trying to get your niece's number. And, I just felt like such an idiot, like two guys trying to get a number. So I said, man, go ahead. And I knew in the back of my mind, I'm getting that freaking number. You know what I mean? I'd get that number. And, he plugged it into his BlackBerry, but I could tell she really wanted me to have the number because we really connected, man. And I'll tell you another thing, Kurt, I did something so stupid that night. I actually flexed my muscle, my little minuscule pinball muscle. I flexed my and your niece who grew up with you, with your brothers, like you got to understand, like Kurt is one of many, just like legendary, monstrous angles. And I flexed and she goes, wow, I haven't felt a muscle like that in a long time. She couldn't lie. She wasn't like, what a jackass. I'm like flexing my little toothpicks for her. But, then at the end of the night, he got the number and then she left and he went and he sat down next to me and he said, hey man, if you ever cock block me like that again, I'm gonna whoop your skinny actor ass. Cause I'd gotten real skinny in Russia. And I think things had changed as much because he wasn't kicking my ass. I don't care. And I said, well, come on, get up and, kick my ass right here, dude. Like, let's do it. We sort of got into it. Some guys broke it up and then he felt bad. So he said, I don't want any girl getting in between us. And he erased the number. And I lost my mind because I needed to meet your niece, man. I needed to see her again. And then the next day, I was talking with a friend of mine, and I was talking about Erin all morning. I wouldn't stop talking about her. And he said, this is before the days of Facebook and all that. And I just said, man, I can't stop thinking about this girl. I think she's the love of my life. I got to find her. And he was just like, look, dude, you're never going to see her again. Just let it go. Let it go. And he said, hang on. Did she have like a friend? And I said, yeah, like a blonde hair friend. I said, yeah. And he goes, hold on. He reached in his back pocket and that friend had actually given my buddy her number. And so there it was. I called the number and that's how and the rest is history. 3 kids later.
Wow. What a lifesaver, dude.
Straight up.
These guys nowadays have no idea how easy it is with social media on all the connections,
Straight up. You could hey, were you in this place? That all that kind of, I feel like sort of passed me by, I'm not very good at all that stuff. I've never done like online dating or anything like that, but people don't realize it used to be about, what you could, do in the moment. You know what I mean? Like if you knew how to talk to people and, you had to actually call them and call their parents' house and shit like that,
Now they hide behind social media.
That's right, man. It's a big problem. People don't know how to talk to each other anymore.
Good point. Well, Jon, listen, the good news is that she married you before you started gaining big time success on The Walking Dead. I'm half joking, but your story is a fascinating one. Your parents were not in the arts. Your father was a lawyer. However, your grandfather, Murray Bernthal, was a musician and producer. How does the son of a lawyer end up as an actor?
Man, it was never, I played sports all growing up. There were artists in my family, like my grandfather, like you said, there are 3 boys that grew up in Brooklyn. His brother was the New York City Golden Gloves champion. There's a lot of boxers in my family in that generation. And then my grandfather, he was like a prodigy. They grew up with absolutely nothing, but he was a prodigy violinist as a young age. He played Carnegie Hall when he was 8, and he got a scholarship to go play basketball at Syracuse. When he was 15, he got a half violin, half basketball scholarship. And he was completely broke. So to make money to just to feed himself while he was there, he would play the violin for rich folks in Syracuse. And this woman heard him play the violin, said, she covered the other part. She didn't want him to damage his hands playing basketball because she thought he was such a good violinist. So she covered the other part of his scholarship. So I guess that's really where like the arts kind of came in. And then, my old man, that kind of skipped a generation. Yeah, like you said, he was a lawyer for a while, and then he loves dogs. So he quit that and he ran the Humane Society of the United States, shutting down fighting kennels and doing a lot of stuff for animals' rights and stuff like that. I don't know how, man, it was never really anything that I had my mind on. I was really into sports, played baseball in college. But I ended up taking a class kind of on accident in college. And, I met this unbelievable teacher who, really saw something in me. And I think, especially if you're a kid, and I try to remind kids of this all the time, as a young man, if you're hitting a lot of dead ends and a lot of walls, sometimes you just need an adult or somebody to kind of believe in you or see something in you. And the power of that is unbelievable. It can be a coach, it can be a teacher, it can be somebody's parent, but somebody to just say, hey, you got something special. And for a kid who, again, just like kind of was always winding up, hitting brick walls and getting in trouble, it really changed my life, this woman. And I really kind of dedicated my life to it after I met her. And, she was the reason why I ended up moving to Russia and started studying acting. She ended up marrying my wife and I. She was a minister. Unbelievably important woman. I'm really blessed to have had her in my life.
I feel strongly that saving money is important. If it's not something we worry about now, boy, we are really going to worry about it later. And I want to help you get out of debt faster and do it with cheaper monthly payments. I'm talking to you if you're in a 30-year loan. Now is the time to take years off of your loan. We're routinely helping our listeners cut 5, 10, even 15 years off their loan. And you can do this without perfect credit with no money out of pocket. You've just got to start at savewithconrad.com.
Well, Jon, getting back to the professional Russian baseball, I gotta ask you this.
Yeah, man.
Were you any good?
Man, look, it is not, I would not say, if somebody tells you they played professional baseball in Russia, I wouldn't be overly impressed. There's some good players. Right. I would say it's probably on the level of, like really good, Division III or Division II baseball here in America. It's wood bat. It was a really interesting thing for me. They paid you to play. It was kind of like what I would say, I don't know what polo is like here, but it was sort of like this sport for like rich folks.
Relatively unknown over there.
Yeah, it was a neat thing to do for sort of like mob guys and your model girlfriends to go watch baseball, and we had uniforms, we had buses, we got paid, but they didn't sell money for tickets. It was very strange. I don't know where the revenue was really coming in from, but it was a great experience and a way to sort of see more of the country. And, Russia was a really, while I was there, it was just a unbelievably valuable thing for me to, it really changed my life, man. It was the mixture of the brutality and the beauty of that place, really kind of shaped me as a man and as an artist. And I think I thought of myself as a guy who had been through some stuff and could kind of handle my stuff. And I think it's really good to be humbled, going to a place like that with no money, no real, understanding of the language or the culture, and just sort of like, you got to humble yourself. You got to sort of like be like a baby and relearn everything. And, my eyes got woken up,
You were talking about hitting brick walls and bouncing back and kind of coming back there. On this show, what Conrad and Kurt talk a lot about are the struggles of guys trying to make it in the wrestling business. I'm sure, being a young actor, trying to figure out how to make it in that field, you're going through your own struggles. Can you kind of talk about what that looked like for you, the struggles of a young actor and trying to make it in that field?
Yeah, sure, man. I mean, I think, look, there's many times where, I would start really with my wife, with Kurt's niece, Erin. There are many times where, I'll be honest, man, I put so much time and effort into this thing and studying it and traveling all over the world, doing plays all over the world. And when I was trying to do it as a profession, there were so many times it was so unbelievably clear it was not going to work out for me, like times where, I'm too proud to admit it, man. Like, I'd be basically in tears in my pillow, just telling my wife, baby, it ain't going to happen. Like, it's just, you know, I'm walking into casting director's office. They're looking at my nose and my big old giant ears, and they're like literally horrified by the sight in front. Like, there are times, you know, these people aren't even looking up from their cell phones, you know, when I walked in the door, and it just seems so hopeless. But then I talked to my wife, you know, who's an ICU trauma nurse, and she talked about, you know, holding somebody's hand as they were breathing their last breaths, or, you know, somebody who, you know, having to tell a family member that they're never going to, you know, see their child again. And, you know, that just puts things in such different sort of perspective. And, you know, my all angles are they have a toughness that, you know, I'm sure you guys know, I know, you know, Kurt, you know, it's sort of otherworldly, and there's a quiet, humble, you know, just sort of pride that I think comes with being an angle that I've really tried to like learn. And I love it about my wife. And my wife kind of told me all I needed to know about persevering and fighting on and not feeling sorry for myself without even saying much. And, but, you know, I think for anybody who's kind of going after their dreams, you got to realize how big of a blessing it is that you're going after your dreams and that you can actually say that. And, you know, little bumps in the road, you know, little like failures or successes, I think it's a bad way to look at it. You know, I think the best thing about this business that I'm in is you never know what your next job's going to be. And that's also the worst thing about this business. You know, you know, next week you could be on the job that does something for your soul, does something for you as an artist that completely changes your life. And you could go from feeling like you got nothing going on to you got it all going on. And I think that, you know, you've just got to keep on always going back to it's about the work, about getting better, about trying to be the best of what you can do, training your ass off. And I think that's the same. I think, you know, taking that sort of athletic approach, I know it's really served me. And it's not about, you know, you don't really ever lose. You just get better. You know, you know, change it up and reroute, re-strategize. And I would never want, I would never want this to come easy. I would never not want to hit walls. I still hit walls. I'm doing something right now. I'm still hitting walls, and I love hitting walls. I still get nervous as all hell before I start, and I'm still super hungry. I still feel like I have so much to say, and I love that about this job, that it's never ending. It's always a pursuit. It's something I'm going after. I would never want to like arrive and say, yeah, I got this licked. I think that's kind of for assholes, you know?
Right. I get it. You know, I wanted to ask you, your time on Broadway gives you a different perspective on acting than most, right?
You know, yeah. I mean, I think that the theater stuff, you know, for me, you know, I love that. I think that's the big boy stuff. There's no place to hide. You know, it's a much more, again, athletic endeavor. You know, you do the whole show from beginning to end. I think my favorite thing about it is that you get this rehearsal time. And, you know, rehearsal time is just like if you're training for a fight, you know, like you have that time. It's like from the second, you know, you're going to have that fight. You got a certain amount of time that any moment that you're not working, your opponent might be. And I think that, you know, when you sign on to a play, you've got this set amount of time that you're just working on it. And that's really what I love more than anything is the work. I love working on it. I love trying to get it better, surprising myself, scaring the people I'm working with. And, you know, theater really allows you to do that. And then how it evolves kind of like with the audience actually there, you know, it's big boy stuff. There's no second takes. You know, if somebody forgets their line, there's nowhere to hide. And I got a ton, you know, I equate it a lot to fighting. I think, you know, the people who do that, stand-up comedians, people who actually get up in front of people are risking something that like there's an inherent risk to doing it in front of a camera. And, you know, it's funny, man, I'm doing this show now with all these guys from the Baltimore Police Department who I love. And some of these guys are just like such, you know, sort of fearless, you know, strong, tough guys, but you know, they're coming on a set and you put a camera in their face and you see that, you know, their pookie gets tight, man, and get all nervous and shit. I'm like, you get nervous? And you see, man, it's like, that's great to put yourself in a situation where you can overcome something. I think that's so beautiful. And so there's something about doing it on film too, but doing it in front of, you know, 1,000 people in a theater, that's a different deal. And I got a ton of respect for anybody who does that.
Do you feel like Broadway was that step to the big time then? Like,
you know, man, theater for me, that's just kind of always, I never really had any desire to do anything on camera. I never, you know, when I was in New York and doing theater, I had a theater company. I mean, there's I mean, when my wife met me, I was doing plays where there was more people on stage than in the audience. I mean, it was not looking, good, but I loved it. And she believed in me. And that's kind of all I really needed. But I think that, like, what I saw was, in New York and the New York stage, I'm sure there's things that are equivalent with wrestling. You couldn't really get a real good part in the New York stage unless you had a recognizable face from TV or movies. So that's the only reason I ended up going to California and trying to get in TV and movies, is because I wanted to get back on stage. But then I just got so darn busy and things just kind of, so like I have not gotten to get back on stage nearly as much as I would like. But that's definitely, that's definitely in the cards for the future.
Right. You just talked about that. You ended up creating your own theater company called Fovea Floods.
Mm-hmm.
What was the inspiration for that, and how did that come to be?
That was it was a group of youngsters. When I was first starting, it was a group of young people that I met. This one guy in particular, Josh Chambers. I'll tell you, Kurt, man, he was he's the best artist that I've ever gotten to work with. He was almost like too big of a genius. I don't know if you've ever known someone like this, but he's almost was too big of a genius for the world. He was a prodigy guitarist. He would write all his own music. He would write plays. He was just sort of nonstop. He ended up going over to Europe and directing these huge operas. And, sadly, he died this past year. I was at his funeral. Young man, he died way too early. He just kind of made some tough decisions, and his life started to spiral. Again, it was almost like his mind and his heart were too big for this world. But, for a long time, what we were doing, it was a group of young actors, man. We lived in Bushwick, Brooklyn back in the 90s when, we'd be in rehearsal. We'd be hearing people getting killed right on our block. Anytime anybody would have to go to the subway, we'd walk in a group. It was not Bushwick like what people think it is now. It was, there's 12 of us living there for $400 a month, and we just put on shows. We put them on in DC and New York, wherever we could do it. And it was scrappy and it was humble. But that's really where I feel like I made my bones, because, I got to do things, it was this guy wanted to make theater that was like professional sports, that had the same stakes as professional wrestling or he would do things like, crazy shit, like, throw bags of crickets into the audience or have lobsters and dogs running around. It was just like insane stuff, and all done like kind of beautifully and elegantly, but it was completely wacko and insane at the same time. But it really shaped a lot for me. When I work with directors now in Hollywood and they're like, "Hey, I just really want you to push the envelope, go for," I'm like, brother, you don't even know how far, like, I'll do whatever. There ain't nothing I'm gonna try, and I'm really grateful for those guys that I got to have that kind of sort of experience, and I think as a young artist, that's important,
Right.
Well, you've done a lot of guest spots and work with shows that have only lasted one season. Is there one of those that stands out in your mind? And did any of those experiences make you question being an actor, Jon?
No, you mean shows that got canceled and stuff like that?
Yeah, just cut off.
Man, I'm so grateful to be doing anything. I really try to, I don't know about you guys, I really try to not be too result oriented. I can't do anything about, whether the audience comes to see it or whether reviewers like it. For me, it's about the people I'm in the box with on the day, the crew and the cast. We're making it like, dude, making sure everybody, feels respected and everybody feels like that they're putting their best work there and that we're doing something special that day. And I just want to go home at the end of the day and know I left it all on the field. I go home most days kicking myself, punching myself, talking about how big of an idiot, what I missed. I'm always looking for what didn't work. It's just kind of my nature, sadly. But I think that, like, every experience, there's movies that I've done and shows that I've done that I don't think anybody's seen, but I take, unbelievable, I got so much from those experiences because I think at the end of the day, I don't know how you guys feel, Kurt. I don't know how you feel about this with your career, but I think at the end of the day, man, it's all about the people you meet. It's about the relationships you make, your family, your friends. And I think we're so blessed to be, people who have followed our dreams And, I think the success is not about, again, sort of where we arrive or what we've done. It's about the relationships we've made along the way and the respect that we've earned, the challenges we've overcome, the things that we've done sort of together as a group. And man, I just feel super lucky to be doing it. So I was never, if a show got canceled, I was lucky to be there in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you, man. You hit it big with the role of Shane Walsh on AMC's The Walking Dead. When filming it, did you think this was going to be as big as it ended up being? Man,
that's a good question, man. Kurt, right before Walking Dead, my life had really changed. That I had gotten in some trouble in Los Angeles, and I kind of made a decision in my life that I was going to really try to change my life for the better and stop doing a lot of the things that were winding me up in trouble. I was going to really commit to my work and really commit to your niece, Erin, get married. And I got married right after season 1. When I read that script of The Walking Dead, it was unlike anything I'd ever read before. I think Frank Darabont wrote something that, I was never really into zombies or anything like that, but there was just something about that world that was so honest and so true. And I thought that what an amazing character for this guy, Shane. You meet him, he's like having a good conversation with his best friend. They're having a couple of burgers, sharing a pile of ketchup with their French fries. He's giving him advice on his wife. And I knew that within the course of 2 seasons, he was going to sleep with his friend's wife, try to kill his friend. Like, you knew all these places were going to go. And I look at that like on a ship, like they're buoys along the water of like these places that I know I'm going to be able to hit with this character. This guy's going to be able to really lose his mind in front of the audience. And, when I first auditioned for that show, I auditioned for Rick, and, Frank Darabont really didn't know which role to sort of like focus on me with. And I said, look, man, I can make this easy on you. I want to play Shane. He said, Shane's not going to be around that long. And, for me, man, I didn't care at all. I read that monologue about, women and not turning off the lights. And I saw that, where this guy was headed. And I didn't know, whether the show was going to be successful or not. That was sort of, I never really think in those terms, but I knew that I could say something with that part. And I knew that I could, my heart could get into it. And I could find some empathy for this guy. And I knew people would kind of hate him. And I dug that.
Well, you weren't there long, but you certainly knocked it out of the park with that character. And
I appreciate you saying that, man.
It's the one reason my wife can't wait to watch this as soon as we're done recording. So with that,
that's where I say, what's up, man? That's cool.
Well, that's great. As someone, though, who's been in sales most of my life, and I'm sure you get this question often, what was it like filming The Wolf of Wall Street? That's become a movie of legend for many reasons in the sales community.
Yeah, man. Look, Scorsese's he's the mountaintop for me. He's my favorite filmmaker. There's I don't know what, for me, man, I find, and I think this is probably true with a lot of business. I know it's true in sports, with really great coaches. The thing with Scorsese is it doesn't matter who you are. You could be driving the van, you could be cooking the food, holding the lights, you could be a background, or you could be Leonardo DiCaprio. He invites everybody to the table to come in and be the absolute best they want to be. It's complete freedom. There was a feeling on set. Every take was different. Everything was improvised. You never knew what was going to happen. I always talk about that scene. There's a scene in that movie where Leo says, "Hey man, sell me this pen," and I say, "Okay, give me the pen." And then we did that whole supply demand. When he was walking to set that day, there was a New York City detective that was in charge of his security. And that detective said to Leo, "Hey man, I had a job interview with the real Wolf of Wall Street when I was younger." And Leo said, "Really?" And he said, "What happened?" He said, "Well, he handed me a pen, said, sell me this pen."
Oh, wow.
So Leo just did that in the scene without telling anyone. And in every day, every scene, it was something like that. It was just like, I had this idea that I wanted to have ketchup in the scene. And then I threw this bottle of ketchup and it broke all over these people in the middle of the scene. And then the woman who was playing the waitress, who, she's a background actress, but, it's a Scorsese movie. So that woman is a Broadway actress. It's the best of the best. She runs over with a new bottle of ketchup. She's like, everybody is so involved and in it, and everyone's doing their best. And I really think that's because Scorsese doesn't, he's not locked into one way of doing things. And I think the great bosses and coaches and leaders know how to bring out the best in everybody, and they really, know how to create an environment of freedom and where you can be courageous and try things and fail, and you'll be all right, because that's the only way we'll bring the best out of us. And that there was no movie I think I did that changed the way I worked more. That I worked with De Niro right after I did that movie. And I did one take with him, and De Niro said, "Man, I can see you've been working with Marty." Just after our first take, he said, "Just by the way you're working, how you're changing it up, and how you're always trying to be different." And so yeah, man, that was what an honor and what an experience,
But it goes back to what you said earlier about how you evolve through the relationships that you
That's
make
right.
and the influences. So there you go.
I think that's right, man. I think that's right. And to be, I have a friend named. I have a friend who had done another movie with Scorsese, and he said, he was a little bit younger in his career, and he said, he saw people trying all this wild shit, and he was in The Departed, and he said, everybody's just doing the craziest stuff, and he was a little bit like, man, people don't really know who I am. I'm going to kind of play it cool and just try to be sort of a good soldier. And he said, "I'm going to give you a bit of advice. Don't do that, man. Go nuts, like go for it." And I was really grateful that he told me that, because that's really what Scorsese wants. And, once you start doing that, he'll just bring more out of you. And there's a reason why, his movies are the way they are,
He wants you to bring your own creativity to the table.
Absolutely. And he encourages you to do that, because you know how it is when you're stifled. I think anyone in this world, it doesn't matter what your job is, but when you got somebody over you telling you how to do it and do it my way, I think nothing reeks of mediocrity more than somebody saying, limiting what you can do, saying, just do this, just do that. No, man, like, you're here for a reason. Go do your thing. And maybe you'll surprise me. Maybe you'll be way better than I ever imagined. Maybe your way is way better, but it's about, I think, inspiring and allowing you to take some risks and fail. Say, all right, try something else, but like not limiting you and force feeding you, to do things a certain way. And I mean, I think that's the American way,
Well, you moved into executive producing as well as the acting side of things. Was this something that was always a goal for you, or did it just happen?
I think it just kind of happened. It's become a real goal. As I do more and more work, there's stories that I really want to tell, and there's stories that I really believe in, and people that I've gotten to know who have stories to tell, and I really want to help tell them. And the fact that they're letting me sort of have a seat at the table at some of these things and let me do some of my own writing and some of my own filmmaking, it's an honor, and I take it really seriously. That being said, I think just like, in acting, I'm starting over on this. I don't want anybody to just hand it to me. I believe in the projects that I'm trying to make and the stories that I'm trying to tell, and I'm fine with humbling. I'm fine with putting the proof out there and showing what I got. And so far, the response has been, I've been really blessed for the response that I've gotten. And I really want to, it's really what I want to continue doing. I love helping to tell other people. I love helping to tell other folks' stories, but I also really want to tell my own, and I want to help people that I love and care about tell their own. And I think that's that's a really it's an enormous privilege, to be able to do that.
Well, we're queued up here to talk about Marvel, but before we get there, I'm going to practice what Marty Scorsese says and go off script here and just wrangle back in a little bit more on Walking Dead. The show's success, once you go off the show, I want to put a little closure here. It continues to go on even to this day and still have tremendous success. Do you still keep up with the show, keep up with the cast? What kind of connection do you still have to what's all going on there? And can you believe how successful that franchise has gone on to be?
John, I'm sorry to cut you off, Paul. I just saw an ad on TV that it's you. You look like a zombie in their new episodes of Walking Dead. Did you come back? Are you coming back to the?
I think that just might be some other.
Are you just trying to call him a zombie, Kurt? What are you doing here?
Well, he looked dead. He looked, face was white.
Not that I know of, man. Unless I wouldn't put it past those dudes to just use some stock footage. Just as long as they're not paying me. You know what I mean? Now, I don't know nothing about that, man. I'm not coming back. But I will say, the crew in Georgia that make that show and the cast of that show. I love those people with all my heart. I was really blessed. Andy Lincoln, Sarah Wayne Callies, both had young families right when I was about to start mine. and they were great models for me about how you could be, you know, professional actors and also put your family first. You know, Scott Wilson, who we lost, you know, Jeffrey DeMunn, Irony Singleton, you know, Norman Reedus is one of my best friends in the world, Stephen Young, you know, that core original group, Melissa McBride. You know, we started something that was very humble. Nobody thought that show was going to be what it was going to be. You know, we didn't have trailers. There wasn't craft service. We just hiked out into the woods. And there's something about making a zombie show, you know, that Frank Darabont told us right off the bat. You know, if you have 6 actors walking through the woods and you're trying to play that there's zombies everywhere, if one of you isn't taking it absolutely seriously, if you're all trying to be quiet, but the one of you is just worried about your freaking makeup or just kind of walking, it blows it for everybody. So it was really like, it was almost like being on a football team. Everybody had to commit fully all the time to make it work. And, you know, that group really did that. Like I'd never had so much fun on a show, and I've never had so much fun with a group of people. You know, a real family was built there, especially in Georgia with the community, the cast and the crew, with a crew. And look, I'll be honest with you, you know, I felt like, hey, here's another wall. Finally, I get on a show, it blows up. It's the biggest damn show in the world.
Yes.
Kill my ass. They killed me twice. They're like, man, pack up your shit and get out of here. And, you know, I've said it before, you know, you know, my son Henry was born during the second season, my first son. And, you know, when I died, I think in episode 12, and I went back to go spend a little bit of time with him. And then I flew back to Georgia to pick up my dog in my truck. And I went back on the set to go say goodbye to everybody. And I hiked into the woods and I saw everybody kind of doing their thing on set and how they had moved on without me. And I realized, you know, I just sat on this rock and I kind of had tears in my eyes because I love this group and I saw them all doing their thing. And I decided against going over there and, you know, making it about me and said, I just watched this beautiful machine, you know, they were fighting all these zombies and the barn was on fire and everyone was doing their thing. And I was so proud and I was so grateful that I got to be a part of such a thing. And, you know, I'll be honest, it's you know, as sad as that was, sort of saying goodbye to the people, you know, when I look at it now, it was such a blessing for me to do what I did on that show, to have had that experience, make those friends. But man, I've gotten to do, you know, so much great stuff. And I'm really happy I'm not doing that now. You know, I'm really happy that, you know, they've gotten to stay there and do that. And I've gotten to have all these sort of new relationships and new experiences. So, but you know, enormously proud and grateful that I got to be a part of that. And it's, you know, never underestimate the power of that show. I mean, what they were able to do with that show was, it was truly mind blowing how many people, you know, it tapped into something that I think we all, and I think, you know, the pandemic sort of has reawakened. You know, we've all wondered, you know, what would you do if the veneer of society got stripped away?
Yes.
And if the rules started to go out the window? And I think Shane as a character, you know, he was the first one to kind of figure that out, you know. Yep. You know, in that first season, he's beating that guy who's beating on his wife. You know, he starts beating his ass on the beach and he hits him again. I think in his mind, he realizes, you know, in this world, I could just keep hitting you. Like I can kind of do it. And like, so the kernel of this idea, which then carried the show forward, I love that guy got to start with Shane. And I loved kind of discovering that and having those ideas.
Right.
No, thank you for indulging me there. I felt like we needed to put a proper bow to tie that. That's a big one. That's a big time series. It's been a big impact on our society the last 10 years.
I think that's right, man.
Absolutely.
I think that's right. Yeah, they've really done something incredible.
There you go. All right. Well, as of late, the Marvel franchise seems to be taking over, and you were a big part of it with the Netflix version of it. And were you hesitant joining that superhero franchise as far as that goes with Netflix?
Was I hesitant? Look, I've never had any real aspiration to be like, you know, to play a superhero. That's, you know, the guys that I really love and respect in my business, you know, kind of have not done that. But, you know, once I it was two things. I mean, once I really dove into, you know, who Frank Castle was, and then once I saw what, you know, Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox were doing on Daredevil and the kind of show that was, I had to do it. I think with Frank Castle more than anything else, man, you know, like, you know, if I wasn't a father and a husband, if I didn't love my family so much more than I love myself, I could never tap into the idea of what it would mean if somebody took them from me. And that like first step is it like something happens in me where it's, all of us who have families, we know it, it's a place that's scary and it's dark. And I've always thought that like the best things that you're going to do in this world are the things that scare the shit out of you. Like if it's scaring you, if you feel like you can't do it or you're afraid to walk down that road, man, you better run down that road, especially as an artist. Like you got to follow that. And Frank Castle, man, that just scared the shit out of me. What I knew it would bring out of me, what it would sort of mean, in terms of like the headspace, that I would want to have to be living in it. And then I think more than anything, my relationship sort of with the military community in this country and the law enforcement community in this country, and how much that character resonates with them and how much, folks have gone and fought and died for this country with that Punisher skull on their body armor, and how much of a responsibility that is and what that means. And that has actually emboldened people to walk and take the hardest walk that a man can take for our country, for our kids, for our freedom. And, so, that character is it was just such it scared the shit out of me, but like, what a unbelievable honor, man. And, and I just knew I had to do it. And I knew I was horrified about, messing it up. So I put everything that I possibly had into it. I'm really grateful that I got the shot.
Well, Jon, as a wrestler, this, I did my own stunts, and on the set of The Punisher, you did yours as well. What was that like?
Man, I love that. I wouldn't have it any other way. I think it's a real, I think it's a real disservice to character, when actors are having people step in and do that for them, because you can't be with there's so much emotion in violence and how you fight, and the little moments of fear and of, getting the upper hand, feeling like you got the lower hand, feeling like you don't know what to do. There's so much to play in that. And there's so much to actually be with the character within the violence and within the struggle. It's everything. And I mean, that's why, the unbelievable, with pro wrestling, this unbelievable sort of alchemy of unbelievable athleticism, violence, and performance. It's like, it's why it's so huge. Like, I love that, man. So for me, the days that I got to fight, and training with the stunt, the stunt team on that show, they're my brothers, they're the people I'm closest with. We train every single day. Eric Linden, he was my double to start, and then he became coordinator. We just basically worked out together and would learn the fights together. Those guys were always pushing each other. And I think it's an absolute crime, that stunt performers aren't recognized more in Hollywood. They don't get an Academy Award.
Right. You're absolutely right.
And it's great. The best up and coming directors right now are all ex-stunt coordinators. There's a level of precision and ingenuity and creativity among stunt performers and it's the same thing that you guys are doing in wrestling. Like, somebody has to choreograph that and tell the story of each of those fights. And in the meantime, you're putting your body on the line. I mean, like, everyone knows how much you've been banged up, and like, man, I got knocked unconscious, I think 3 times in the course of Punisher, broke a few bones, a few dislocations, like, shit happens. And I wouldn't have it any other way. If that had, I held it as a real kind of badge of honor that I was part of the stunt team, that I was a stunt performer on that show rather than, just an actor. And there's no way I think that the role would resonate with people if you were always shooting the violence from the back of my head. You got to be on the face.
Yeah, Jon, that's exactly where I was going to ask. Were there any horror stories with some of the stunts that you had to perform in those shows?
Look, not horror, injuries, man, but compared to like what, there are real horror stories, within the stunt community. And again, just sort of giving my kind of shout out and my just, overwhelming support for that community. Every year, we do lose stunt performers. And again, they're in television, as stunts are becoming more and more, they want movie quality stunts on a TV show, on a TV schedule, where they don't have the time and they don't have the money, and it's dangerous. And these guys are putting they're not just, like me, I break my hand or I tear a couple ligaments, like, big deal. There's there's guys who are literally putting their life on the line, and we lose people sometimes. And a lot of the times when that happens, it's because we're trying to cut corners. And this community is so underrecognized, again, for their creativity and their sacrifice. And, it's like, it's what we look, the Marvel movies, it's taken this country by storm. We love that stuff. That is most of that performance is not these movie stars that we all know and love. It's got, when that mask is on, there is an unbelievable stunt performer in there doing unbelievable things and putting their body and their health on the line. And I just think they need a lot more recognition than they get.
I think you're right, Jon. You're absolutely right about that. But you made a trek sort of into the pro wrestling business when you appeared in the Peanut Button Falcon. Did you get a chance to work with Jake Roberts and Mick Foley or be around some of the pro wrestling scenes?
Man, I'm a huge fan of both of theirs. I did not, man. I really just jumped into that movie a little bit. My friend, Shia at the time was going through some stuff, and I just needed to go down there and help him out a little bit. But I was not there long, but it was a wonderful movie and a beautiful, I think, Zach, did a beautiful job in that. And it was another one. I was just grateful to even be down there.
Well, the biggest film to ever take place with pro wrestling was the movie The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. Did you ever see it? And if so, what did you think of it?
Oh, I love The Wrestler. I mean, I love Darren Aronofsky. I think that, again, I think anytime, I think the strongest thing that sort of, movies can do is can take you to a specific place in a specific time and paint it. It can be like a time traveling machine. It can take you someplace that you didn't get an invitation to and sort of lift back the curtain. So, I mean, obviously, Kurt, being married to Erin, I've always been a wrestling fan, but then also knowing not only, Kurt's heroics and what he did for this country in the Olympics and the athleticism, but then also, what he's done as an athlete and a performer in pro wrestling. I had this sort of, I remember Kurt, I don't know, we came and saw you once. I think it was in Madison Square Garden, in New York, a long time ago, and Hulk Hogan was wrestling, and you were there, and I think you would kind of like hurt your leg, and I was with Erin, and when everyone's sort of how it is, man, everyone's screaming and going wild, but you had kind of messed up your leg, and you were holding your leg, and Erin was so upset, you know what I mean? And I was like, come on, he's doing great. He's performing. He's not really hurt. He's, what I mean? It's just like, you don't understand like what the, and I don't know. I think that, what that movie did is it just pulled back the curtain on and said so much about, people's dreams and the road that we take and where you are kind of on the road and what you're doing it for in the first place. And, look, I just think life is a journey. And I think anytime you're somebody who's made a decision to go and follow your dreams, you've committed to that journey, and you are where you are on that journey. And there's highs and lows and goods and bads. And I don't know. I really dug that. I really dug that. And I thought they did something really special with it.
Well, upcoming, I know you're a part of The Many Saints of Newark, which is the prequel of The Sopranos for HBO. Were you a fan of Sopranos when it first came out?
Oh, man. Yeah. I mean, that was my favorite show, Kurt. I mean, when I was
really,
oh yeah, man. When I was an acting student, coming out, I was just getting into New York, and that was like at the height of, Sopranos fever. Man, all I wanted to do is I just wanted to be on that set. Like I would have done anything just to be an extra. I tried so hard to get in front of those casting directors. It was just my dream. I love the show. So when I had that opportunity, I kind of jumped on it just to be in that world. But I'll tell you, the reason why that one's really special for me is, Michael Gandolfini, who's James Gandolfini's son, is playing the young Tony, playing the role that his dad, played before his dad died. And Michael's been kind of going on this journey of trying to get it to, he grew up with his dad as Tony Soprano in New York. He's only had a few years, where he was in Tony Soprano's before he died. And, Mike has just gone on this like unbelievably sort of like courageous and beautiful journey of trying to get to know his dad better and get to know people that knew him. And he was going around the country, kind of talking to friends and mentors and teachers. And, then he had to dive into this part of this iconic part of Tony Soprano. And keeping that role in the Gandolfini family. And then I got to play his dad, Johnny Boy. And I really was very protective of Mike. And I love this young man. I was so proud of what he did and so proud of, taking that. You talk about like a scary road, those are huge shoes to fill. And, I just feel this unbelievable closeness to him. I'm proud of him and enormously protective of him. So I think that's just really cool. And I was really glad to sort of be there with Mike.
Well, listen, we know that you're big into charity, and in my research, I found out that you and your brother Nicholas run the nonprofit organization Drops Fill Buckets. Can you share with our listeners all about that organization?
Sure, man. I think the idea of Drops Fill Buckets, when it first started, was just, you got all these folks sort of, around the world who, you say you really want to do good and people, I mean, we really believe in sort of the inherent goodness in everyone, that we all kind of want to help. But I think, my brother really kind of came up with the idea. He's my little brother's an amazing guy. He's an All-American quarterback in high school. He played football and basketball at Princeton. And, now he's this huge, he's a cancer surgeon out in LA, cuts cancer out of people's bones. But,
wow.
He takes about half of his time, and he's built hospitals in India and in Africa. And he travels down to very rural and poor areas in Mexico and does field surgeries. He really believes in giving back. And his sort of idea for Drops Fill Buckets was that, instead of kind of giving money to these big organizations where you never really know where the money's going to go, you get groups of young professionals all over the country, all over the world, and people can decide on one thing, one thing where this much money will actually solve a problem. There was this area in India where 75% of the women that were going into child labor were dying on the way to the hospital because they had to walk. So he said, what if we were to buy an ambulance and 3 years supply of fuel for that? And so we found out how much that would cost. And we just had a bunch of fundraisers just to kind of cure that problem right there. And then you can kind of go around the country and people can have ideas. Hey, there's this dog shelter. Hey, there's something for, tier 1 special forces soldiers with PTSD. The suicide rates are off the chart. Get one issue at a time, try to take care of that one issue. So it's specific and it's focused, rather than you're just kind of throwing it into the sort of sea of charity.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah. My brother's an amazing guy. He's doing a lot more good for the world than I am. I'll tell you that much.
So are you, John.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You're also heavy into pit bull ownership, and your dad was a board member for the Humane Society. Did that impact your love of dogs and why you're a spokesperson for the Animal Farm Foundation?
Yeah, man. I think, my parents also, my parents had a huge influence on me, and they still do. They took in foster kids who were coming up in DC, and I really saw, that kids whose parents, abused them physically or sexually, kids whose parents were locked up, kids would come into the home, they're really in rough shape, and in a rough place. And I saw, especially with my mom, she always opened her heart to them. She never gave up on them, no matter what they did. She always, the power of loving a child and saying, hey, I got your back no matter what. I'm not all this bad behavior. I'm not going to judge you for that. I realize that that's just your way of expressing something that you don't really have the tools to express. There's so much power in that and grace and beauty in that. And, I've really found for dogs, especially, pit bulls and fighting dogs in particular, I got no problem with, man, if, Kurt, you've been a fighter your whole life, like I love boxing. I always have, if two guys want to go in a ring and, have it out or work with each other, or even if you have something you got to get off your chest, I got no problem with that. But don't put something out there to fight in your place. Don't like handle it yourself. And I think the dog fighting thing, it's just something that's really near and dear to my heart. and taking these dogs in and sort of bringing them back and bringing them through that journey, giving them love and seeing how far that they can come. It's just something that I think is, it gives me a huge amount of satisfaction. And I think I've really seen, with my dogs, I have pit bulls. I've always had pit bulls, and you walk down the street with your dog, and people cross the street. You know what I mean? And people say, "Hey, keep your pit bull away from my dog." But isn't he a dog too? And there's all this breed-specific legislation where just in a community they'll just make a law that says, "Okay, no pit bulls can be at these apartment buildings," and these families have to give up their dogs, and there's no focus or time put into, well, is this an aggressive dog? Is this dog a problem? Like, who is this dog as an individual? Who is this family? What have they done to take care of this dog? And I get it that, these big dogs and sort of larger breed dogs, they're not for everybody. And I think with these kinds of dogs comes a certain level of responsibility. And I really believe that my dogs are ambassadors for the breed. I never want somebody to be afraid from the idea of intimidating somebody with your dog. There's nothing weaker or lamer to me, but I just think that these dogs really don't get a fair shake. And, if I can help with that, there's just something that I feel real connected to that breed, and I'll sing it on the mountain all day, man. Give those dogs a chance,
Well, Jon, listen, I came into this excited to talk to you because of what you've done in terms of your acting and Walking Dead and Marvel and all this stuff. But I'm coming out of this just really seeing that kind of a classy individual, your family, what you're doing for the community, the family, dogs and whatnot, just really impressed. And I can't thank you enough for being a part of this. And we're closing this down right now with a final question. And speaking of family, I got to get back to the Angle family.
Yeah.
And I got to ask,
Sure.
Any pressure by Kurt on you when it came to dating Erin? I mean, did he threaten an ankle lock? Was there any kind of submission, any rough and tumble in the ring? Was there any of that going on?
Paul, to be honest with you, I think he's more nervous with my brother Mark.
Well, let's hear it. We're getting to the end here. We got to hear the inside scoop, man.
You got to understand, Paul, man, Big Mark Angle is I said it before, Kurt knows, the day that I was coming to, I came to Pittsburgh to ask Big Mark, Erin's dad, for his permission to propose to his daughter. And we were all at Kurt's mom's apartment, and we were hanging out in there. And Kurt turned to me and says, "So what are you doing here, man?" Because, Erin wasn't there. And I said, Kurt, I'm about to go ask Big Mark, for his permission to propose. And Kurt was leaving. He goes, "Oh man," he's like, "I wouldn't want to be in your shoes, man." He's like, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here." I mean, you got to understand, I love my father-in-law, literally, man, I love him with every fiber of my bit. Like, I believe in him. Like, I love this guy, man. He's been so good to me. And he's got such a huge heart, man. And but he's a very feared dude, man. He is
without a doubt.
I cannot begin to explain to you, and so, for me, Kurt was always so nice, and Kurt was like that, Kurt's always been cool to me, and that me and Kurt have always, really gotten along good and been close. I was scared shitless of my father-in-law, man. And for really good reason. That's like everybody, I remember the first couple of times I went to Pittsburgh, and people would be like, random people would be like, "Have you met her dad yet?" And I'm like, no, that's why I'm here. And they're like, "Yeah, he might be the toughest guy on the planet. He might be the toughest guy in the country." And they're saying that honestly, they're not when you hear that over and over. Yeah. So, I mean, that's really where but we've gotten,
Let my family save your family some cash. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket, but we will save you money. It's not a matter if, it's a matter of how much. SaveWithConrad.com.
We've gotten so close again, and I could not imagine a better father-in-law than Big Mark Angle.
You can't leave us on the edge, though. So the big talk obviously went well. He said yes.
He did, man. He did. He was awesome. He hugged me, and yeah, man. He's something else, man. I think you should have Big Mark on the show, man.
Yeah, you're right. And deep down, he does have a heart of gold. He really
heart
does.
of gold.
As tough as he is, and the facade he puts up, which is real. It's a real facade.
That's right.
Or I should say it's really real, but he's got a really big heart. Really, he's incredible.
Incredible. And all you got, man, I think the Angle family, man, it's a legendary family. I mean, you're a legendary American and a legendary hero to so many people, Kurt, but like your whole family and in that community, it's, the Angle family, that's, it's an unbelievable family with an unbelievable history. And but I'll tell you, man, it's, everyone's got a huge heart of gold. And there's a lot of people who are scared of the Angles. Everybody respects them. There's a lot of people that are scared, but I will tell you, man, there's so much beauty and heart in that family. And I'm just super blessed that I feel like I get to be a part of it.
You're a big part of it, Jon.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Kurt.
Listen, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I love you, brother. Please say hello and give my love to Erin and the kids. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it, man. I'll talk to you soon too.
Yeah. I'll talk to you soon. Give my love to everybody, man.
Get back to work, Jon.
Nice to meet you, Jon.
Nice to meet you, Paul. Y'all take care. Thanks for having me, you guys.
All right. Thank you, buddy.
brother.
Love you too, bro. Thank you, man.
All right, Kurt. Wow. That was awesome.
Jon Bernthal, folks. He's the man.
I tell you what, I meant what I said. Like, I didn't know really what to expect. I knew his track record, his movies and TV.
Down to earth, humble,
so cool,
incredible human being. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a real treat. And again, just to hear kind of what he's doing in the community with his brother and then all the charity work, man, just a class individual. Well, listen, Kurt, speaking of lots of good things going on and a class individual, he had a lot to say about you and your family. And I was thinking about you a little bit yesterday, Kurt. Did you know that? Were your ears warm at all? I was thinking about you. I was talking about
because
you.
Of the Olympics.
Well, not only the Olympics, but I decided to step up and put my money where my mouth was. And I ordered not one, not two, but three orders of chicken snacks are now on their way to the Bromwell residence. That's right. Fun. Buffalo wing, blue cheese, pizza, and jalapeno ranch are all on their way. I went to physicallyfit.com and I put in that code AnglePod because I wanted the 20% off. Yes. But just in the next few days or so, I will have my own chicken snacks.
That is awesome. All you have to do is go to physicallyfit.com. There are 11 different flavors to choose from. Choose your favorite and you're going to love them. I promise.
The next time I'm on here again with you, I will be proudly displaying those packages. I can't tell you that they'll have anything in them, but I will at least keep the packaging so that I can show proof of receipt. But man, I'm really excited to try those out. You've been talking about them and it's time, like I said, I put my money where my mouth is and I can't wait to try them out. They sound delicious. And I've been seeing all that feedback on social media about people that are trying them and how good they are. So I want to get in on this, man.
I'm glad you did. You're going to love them. I promise, Paul.
All right, buddy. What else? We can go to the KurtAnglebrand.com. Isn't that right?
Yes. Go to KurtAnglebrand.com. You can get photos, cowboy hats, milk cartons, birthday cards, T-shirts, cameo video requests. There's everything on there. They're very affordable. I kept the prices very low so that people could afford it, especially during this pandemic. And I really appreciate everybody supporting me.
Listen, another little scoop here for you, Kurt. Cameo.com, it works. Oh, it's true. It's damn true. Because you know why? Last year for our Victory Lane Awards ceremony for my team, I purchased a Kurt Angle cameo, and he sent us a cameo congratulating my team for their achieving Victory Lane. So yes, you can do that too. Got the video, put it up on our presentation, and you delivered an awesome speech, and it did pop the team. So lots of fun ideas that you can use a cameo for. Kurt congratulated them on behalf of their success in reaching their sales goals. So it just doesn't have to be for you. It can be for team members and other things. So take advantage of all that stuff. Get the milk carton. He'll autograph the cowboy hat over at KurtAnglebrand.com. And then the last plug of the show before we sign off today, adfreeshows.com. That's where you can find all the exclusive bonus content. Kurt and I just a few months ago did a bonus show together. We're going to be doing more together as well, but that's where you're going to get all the fun bonus pods that we do, as well as all the episodes early and ad-free. Again, we appreciate all the support over there as well. And make sure you check out the Kurt Angle Show next week. Kurt and Conrad will be back talking all things total nonstop angle. It's the debut at No Surrender 2006. Kurt, I know you're looking forward to that one.
Yes, I am. That's when I started in TNA, and it was awesome. I had such an incredible time, an amazing career in TNA, and I'm very proud of it.
All right. Well, this has been a great episode. We appreciate you all joining. This is Paul Bromwell, joined by the legendary Kurt Angle. We'll see you again next week on The Kurt Angle.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.